There comes a moment in every life, yes, in your life, when everything you had counted on begins to crumble. You've prayed, you've worked, you've loved, and yet what you received was not a blessing, but what looked like betrayal. You gave your best and got the worst in return. You poured out your heart, but instead of being filled, it was broken. And now you're standing in the middle of your life, staring at the ruins, asking, why, God, why did I lose what I gave everything to keep? But I want to tell you something today. Listen to me, child of God. The loss you feel right now is not the end of your story. The tears you've cried are not wasted. The seasons of grief you've endured were not in vain, because the God who sees in secret, the God who hears the cries you didn't even speak aloud, the God who watched you stay silent when you could have fought back, that God, He will repay you with so much more than you lost. You may have been rejected by people, but you have not been rejected by heaven. You may have lost things, relationships, finances, time, or even years, but you did not lose God's promise. He still has a plan for your life. He still holds your destiny in His hand. He is still the God of restoration, and He doesn't restore back to where you were. He repays in ways that exceed what you can imagine. You may have come here tonight with a heart heavy from disappointment. You've seen friends walk away. You've seen dreams dissolve. Maybe you've been through a divorce. Maybe your children have turned from God. Maybe you've lost a job you gave your life to. The devil whispered that it's over. But let me remind you, Satan doesn't have the final word. God does. And when God speaks over your life, He doesn't just offer a second chance. He offers abundant restoration. When Job lost everything, his home, his family, his health, his story didn't end in ashes. The Bible says in Job 42:10, and the Lord restored the fortunes of Job, and the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. That's not a legend. That's not just a Sunday school story. That is the God of heaven and earth showing us what He does for those who endure, those who worship through the storm, those who hold on even when the night is long. God restores and He repays. I want you to hear me clearly now. God owes you nothing, but He chooses by His mercy to bless those who suffer righteously. He sees your heart. He knows the sacrifices you made when no one else did. He saw when you turned the other cheek. He saw when you loved the people who used you. He saw when you held your tongue while your name was being dragged through the mud. And God said, that's my servant. I will repay them. You see, the world may pay you back with insults, betrayal, and loss. But God pays back in abundance, in glory, in healing, and in peace that surpasses all understanding. You may be weeping now, but the Bible promises in Psalm 126:5, they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. Oh, friend, the reaping is coming. The harvest is on its way. What you thought was gone forever, God is going to replace it with something greater. Now, the problem is, we look at our lives through the lens of the moment. We think if it's not fixed today, it's forever broken. But the God we serve is not bound by our clocks or calendars. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. And He's working behind the scenes, preparing a blessing that is bigger than your pain, stronger than your past, and brighter than your imagination. Don't you dare let the devil convince you that your best days are behind you. No, your God is too powerful, too faithful, too full of love to let your story end in defeat. I'm telling you right now, He will repay you, but not just to the measure you lost. He'll overflow you. That's how God works. When you gave love and got heartbreak, God says, I will repay you with a love that never leaves. When you served others and were used, God says, I will lift you up in due time. When you stayed faithful and yet everything seemed to fall apart, God says, I will build something new on those ashes. Isaiah 61:7 says, instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and everlasting joy will be yours. That's not poetry, that's a promise. A double portion, not the same, not similar, but double. God specializes in bringing double for the trouble. He doesn't settle the score, he overwhelms it with mercy. He doesn't just repay the pain, he turns it into purpose. I've seen people lose everything, businesses wiped out, marriages shattered, years spent wandering in darkness. But then, one touch from God, one shift in the Spirit, one divine turn, and everything changed. God opened new doors. God brought healing. God sent the right people. And suddenly, what looked like the end became the greatest testimony of their life. God is not done with you. Don't you dare hang your head in despair. Don't you let the loss become your identity. You are not what you lost. You are who God says you are. You are not the bankruptcy. You are not the breakup. You are not the breakup. You are not the betrayal. You are redeemed. You are restored. You are loved. And God says, I will repay you with more than you lost. But here's the key. You must not give up before the promise comes. You must not walk away before the miracle. You must not get bitter in the wilderness. Don't harden your heart. Don't fall into despair. Trust Him. Trust Him even when you don't understand. Trust Him when the night feels endless. Because those who trust in the Lord will never be put to shame. Some of you have been sowing righteousness, forgiveness, compassion, and yet it feels like you're getting nothing in return. But I tell you tonight, Galatians 6:9 is true. Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Your due season is coming. Your reward is on the way. God will not let your faith go unrewarded. And don't think His repayment is always material. Oh no. Sometimes what He gives is far more precious. He gives peace in the storm. He gives clarity in the chaos. He gives purpose in your pain. He gives strength in your weakness. And sometimes, yes, sometimes, He gives back what was stolen in a way so glorious, so beautiful, so divine, you'll say, it was worth the loss to gain this. Look back at Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison. But when God repaid Joseph, he wasn't just restored, he was elevated to rule over Egypt. And when he met his brothers again, the ones who betrayed him, he didn't say, you ruined my life. No, he said in Genesis 50:20, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. My friend, what others meant to break you, God is using to bless you. What you lost was painful, but what God is preparing is powerful. And if you could see what's coming, you'd stop weeping over what left. You'd stop begging for what's behind you. You raise your hands and say, God, have your way. I trust your timing. I trust your hand. I trust your repayment. Let me ask you, have you surrendered your loss to Him? Have you placed your wounds on the altar and said, Lord, I don't understand this, but I give it to you? Because that's where restoration begins. Restoration doesn't begin when everything is fixed. It begins when you trust God with your pain. God is not intimidated by your sorrow. He is not shocked by your questions, but He invites you, bring it all to me. He says, let me carry what you can't. Let me heal what the world broke. Let me repay you with more than you lost. There are angels moving right now. There are blessings being positioned. There are doors about to open. Don't give up in the hallway. Don't die in the waiting room. The delay is not the denial. God is still writing your story. And when He restores you, people will be amazed. When He lifts you, no one will be able to take the credit. When He repays you, everyone will know It wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it was God. God did it. And you'll stand with tears in your eyes and say, I lost much, but I gained so much more. Hold fast to the promise. Let your heart rest in His word. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. What God is preparing for you is tailored for you. He's not going to give you someone else's reward. He's going to give you more than what you lost. And yes, some of you are still mourning. You're still grieving what walked away. But I promise you, when God finishes what He started, your mourning will turn into dancing. Your ashes will be exchanged for beauty. Your heaviness will be clothed in praise. That's who He is. That's what He does. He restores, He repays, He resurrects. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. God has not overlooked your sacrifice, your tears, your midnight prayers. He is faithful. He is near. He will do exactly what He promised. So lift up your head, square your shoulders, wipe those tears, and walk forward with boldness, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. The God who saw the loss is the God who brings the gain. The God who permitted the trial is the God who brings the triumph. He will restore the years the locusts have eaten. He will heal the wounds time could not. He will fill your life again with joy, with purpose, with love, with peace. You haven't seen your best days yet. You haven't danced your greatest dance. You haven't sung your loudest praise. Because what God is about to do in your life will make you forget the pain of what you lost. Not because the loss didn't matter, but because the glory will be so much greater. And one day, when you're standing in the overflow, when you're walking in blessings, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, you will say, thank you, Lord. I didn't understand it then, but I see it now. You repaid me with so much more than I lost. So many walk through life feeling as though the best of them has been stolen. They carry wounds from words never unsaid, betrayals never healed, and seasons of dryness where they once bloomed. They wake up carrying invisible burdens, thinking, is this all there is left for me? But hear this loud and clear. The enemy did not destroy your destiny. He only delayed what heaven is determined to deliver. The God we serve doesn't just pick up where life left off. He rewrites the very chapters the enemy tried to erase. He is the God who makes rivers in the desert and roads through the wilderness. The same God who turned a barren womb into a cradle for nations with Sarah. The same God who gave David a throne after years of running for his life. The same God who raised Lazarus when everyone else declared him dead. That same God is alive, and He is working in your life. Let the world count you out. Let them walk away. Let them say it's over. Because when God steps in, His voice silences every lie. His hand removes every chain. His power breaks every ceiling. And His promise doesn't expire because of your loss. It intensifies. The very thing the devil tried to use to bury you will become the soil where your harvest grows. And let me tell you something powerful. God is not just a comforter, He is a multiplier. He's not just interested in giving back what was taken, He wants to exceed it. That's why the Bible declares in Ephesians 3:20, now unto Him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. Not just enough to survive, not just enough to get by, but abundantly above. You don't serve a God of leftover. You serve a God of overflow. So why did He allow the loss in the first place? Why did He let it slip through your hands? Because sometimes, beloved, He has to remove what you settled for to make room for what He prepared. He has to strip away the counterfeit to reveal the covenant. He has to pull you out of familiar places so He can launch you into the fullness of your calling. And while you wept over what was taken, heaven was rejoicing over what was being arranged. Some of you are holding on to memories like security blankets, afraid to hope again, afraid to dream again, afraid to trust again. But the Spirit of God is saying to you right now, let go of the ashes, because beauty is coming. Let go of the old, because God is doing a new thing. Let go of what broke you, because your healing has already begun. Don't you know that your Redeemer lives? And because he lives, your story is not over. God's repayment is not delayed, it's being prepared. And the longer it takes, the greater it shall be. The enemy might have come to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus said in John 10:10, I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. This isn't just poetry. This is truth backed by heaven's authority. Abundant life means restoration of what was lost, multiplied peace, deep wells of joy, and divine compensation. The world may call it coincidence, but you'll know it was the hand of the Lord repaying what no man could. Some of you have cried yourself to sleep, thinking no one saw, but God saw. Every tear is a seed, every sigh is a prayer. Every moment you chose to forgive instead of retaliate was recorded in heaven, and God is faithful to reward the faithful. Hebrews 10:35 tells us, do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded. Your confidence isn't in circumstances, it's in the character of your God. And he is not just good, he is just. He will not allow the enemy to rejoice forever. He will not let injustice go unanswered. He will not leave your faith unrewarded. He will not leave your sacrifice unseen. There is a reckoning coming in the spirit. There is a shifting happening in the atmosphere. There is a turnaround with your name on it, and it's God ordained. And listen, when God repays, it silences every accuser. It shuts the mouths of doubters. It redeems what your enemies said would never rise again. When God restored Naomi after death and despair, she held Obed, the grandfather of King David, in her arms. When God restored Ruth, he wove her into the lineage of Jesus Christ himself. They were both women marked by loss, but even more marked by destiny. Don't measure your future by your past. Don't assume because you lost something valuable that you've been disqualified. In fact, the loss might just be evidence of your calling. The devil doesn't attack the useless. He attacks the anointed. And some of you have been under fire not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. And God will make sure that for every ounce of pain, there is a flood of purpose. He is setting a table before you in the presence of your enemies. He is preparing a testimony so powerful that those who thought you were finished will have to admit, surely the Lord was with them. That's what Psalm 23 tells us. Not just green pastures and still waters, but tables prepared in the valley, restoration in the shadow of death, honor in the face of rejection. You may feel like your life has been reduced to fragments, pieces scattered by the wind, but remember the feeding of the 5,000. Not only did Jesus multiply the loaves and fish, he gathered the leftovers. 12 baskets full. What does that tell you? Nothing is wasted in God's kingdom. No hurt, no delay, no loss, no detour. He gathers the fragments, and from the broken pieces, he builds miracles. You've been faithful. You've prayed through the storm. You've stood when others walked away. And I'm here to declare, you are on the edge of divine repayment. You are standing at the threshold of breakthrough. God is not going to simply return what was taken. He's going to launch you into places you never imagined you'd go. But now you must believe again. You must stir your faith. You must stand in the truth of God's word, not the lies of the enemy. You must shut the door on regret and open the window to hope. You must wake up each day declaring, my Redeemer lives. My Restorer is on the move. My God is repaying me with more than I ever lost. Don't settle for less than God's promise. Don't make peace with disappointment. Don't camp out in the valley of loss, because the mountain of glory is waiting. And the climb may be steep, but the view will be worth it all. You were made for more, created for restoration, anointed for increase, and appointed to declare to the world, I lost much, but look what the Lord has done. Let them see his faithfulness in your joy. Let them witness his glory in your story. Because when he is done repaying you, your life will not whisper, it will proclaim the goodness of God. And to those who still feel buried under the weight of loss, I say to you, what feels like burial is often planting. And when a seed is planted, it looks like it's dead. It disappears from sight. But deep beneath the soil, it's breaking open, taking root, and preparing to burst forth into something far greater than it was before. You are not buried, you are planted. And your season of blooming is coming. You may not know how, you may not know when, but God will repay you with so much more than you lost, because that's who he is, and that's what he does. For those who trust him, for those who wait on him, for those who still lift their hands and say, even now I believe. You may be walking through a season that feels like silence from heaven. You've prayed fervently, you fasted faithfully, and yet the heavens have seemed still. But I tell you, child of God, the silence of God does not mean the absence of God. Sometimes when it feels like nothing is happening, everything is happening in the Spirit. The silence is not a rejection, it is a setup. It is the holy pause before a divine explosion of favor. It is the stillness before the suddenly of God. And when your suddenly comes, it will make up for every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every tear that fell without comfort. God is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should change his mind. If he said he will restore, then restoration is already in motion. But here's what I want you to understand. God's repayment is not always what we expect. It's greater. His idea of justice stretches beyond what the flesh can comprehend. Sometimes he doesn't give you back the exact thing you lost, because he's preparing something so much better, something that matches the weight of your calling, something that aligns with the fullness of your purpose. Too often we ask God to give us back what was when he's trying to give us what will be. We mourn over doors that close, not realizing that heaven bolted them shut for our protection. And yet while we stand there pounding on doors that are no longer meant for us, God is behind us, holding a key to something far more glorious. That's why Isaiah 43:18-19 says, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. God's repayment is a new thing, a thing you haven't seen, haven't imagined, haven't dreamed. Let me speak prophetically to your spirit right now. The new thing God is preparing will not resemble the pain of your past. It will not carry the residue of what hurt you. It will not echo the voices that shamed you. This blessing will be pure, it will be holy, it will be marked by heaven's fingerprints. And when it arrives, your soul will recognize it not as a replacement, but as redemption. Some of you have been in survival mode for so long that you've forgotten what it means to expect more. You've been surviving heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, delay. But I say to you tonight, God is not the God of survival. He is the God of resurrection. He didn't call you to crawl through life wounded. He called you to rise up in power, to shake off the ashes, to throw off the grave clothes, to walk again, dream again, believe again. There is a holy wind blowing through your life, a fresh wind of restoration, a wind that is picking up the fragments and assembling them into purpose, a wind that is carrying away what you thought you needed and bringing in what God knows you need. The Spirit of God is hovering over your dry places, preparing to speak life into every corner where you felt barren. When God restores, He doesn't consult your past. He calls forth your future. He doesn't need man's permission. He doesn't need the approval of your enemies. He doesn't need the systems of this world to support what He's doing. When He opens His hand, provision comes from unexpected places. When He speaks, chains fall and walls collapse. And when He repays, you will know it was Him, because no one else could have done what He's about to do in your life. That's why you can't look to man for repayment. People may never apologize. Systems may never acknowledge what you suffered. The world may never validate your sacrifice. But your reward does not come from people, it comes from the Lord. Psalm 75, 6, 7 declares, "For promotion does not come from the east or the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. He puts down one and sets up another." Your vindication is not found in revenge. It's found in redemption. God doesn't just want to bring you out, He wants to bring you out with glory. He wants your story to become a banner of hope for others. That's why the pain you've endured has been so intense, because the testimony will be so loud. God is about to make your life a living declaration of His faithfulness, not whispered, not subtle, loud, clear, unmistakable. Yes, I know what the enemy said. He told you it's too late. He said too much time has passed. He whispered that you missed your chance. But Satan is a liar and the father of lies. As long as there is breath in your lungs and fire in your soul, you are still eligible for the promise of God. And the Lord says in Joel 2:25, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." Did you hear that? Years. Not just things, not just moments, years. God is the only one who can restore time. Only God can give you back what life robbed from you. Only God can compress decades of sorrow into a single moment of joy. Only God can take what the devil meant for evil and turn it into a platform for glory. So don't you dare believe this is where your story ends. No, beloved, this is where it turns. Lift up your faith, stretch your hope, enlarge the tent of your expectation, because heaven is pouring out divine compensation, not because you earned it, but because you endured it. And grace has a way of finding the ones who stood still in the fire, the ones who didn't bow to bitterness, the ones who chose to keep praising even when the night was long. This is your moment. The sorrow of yesterday is meeting the joy of tomorrow. The wounds of your past are being sealed with glory. The places where you were emptied are about to be filled. God is not sending drips, He's sending showers. Showers of mercy, showers of grace, showers of divine repayment. And when it comes, it will not trickle in quietly. It will come like a flood. Because He promised in Isaiah 59:19, "When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him." The same God who allowed the flood is the God who builds the ark. He is your deliverer. He is your rewarder. He is your restorer. The power of your God is not limited by your past. It is released by your faith. So today, believe again, hope again, trust again, because this next chapter will be nothing like the last. The joy will be greater than the sorrow. The strength will be greater than the struggle, and the blessing will be greater than the loss. God has been counting every tear, watching every moment, measuring every act of obedience, and now He is responding, not with partial blessings, not with surface fixes, but with a full circle miracle. And when it happens, it won't just bless you. It'll bless generations after you. This is the God who repays not with what you lost, but with what only He can give. This is the God who repays with himself his presence, his power, his peace. And when you have him, you haven't just regained what you lost, you have gained everything. So now I speak to every heart that has ever been crushed under the weight of loss, to every soul that has wept in secret, to every weary traveler who's felt forgotten in the waiting. This is your moment to